Daniel had always loved water. Rivers, streams, ponds, and lakes had fascinated him since he was a child. The way the sun reflected off the surface, how the wind made ripples, and the quiet calm it brought had always given him peace. Now, as an adult, he was ready to find a place that he could call his own. He wanted something private, away from the constant noise of the city, somewhere he could relax and think without interruption. One morning, while browsing property listings online, Daniel saw something unusual. It was an old lake at the edge of Maplewood, a small town not far from where he lived. The pictures were simple, but they showed a quiet, peaceful water body surrounded by reeds, tall grass, and a few trees. The water looked clean but untouched. A small cabin rested at one side of the lake, its wooden walls slightly weathered yet inviting. There was a small dock stretching into the water. Most people had avoided it. The HOA in the area was strict, and many buyers were afraid of dealing with them. Some believed the lake was off limits, while others thought it was haunted because of the stories that floated around the town. But Daniel was not afraid. In fact, these stories made him more curious. He felt something special about the place, as if the lake had been waiting for him all along. Daniel immediately called the seller to arrange a visit. When he arrived, he parked his car near the dirt path that led to the cabin. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of wet grass and wildflowers. A soft breeze moved through the trees and the water sparkled under the morning sun. Daniel felt an unusual excitement. He walked along the shore, feeling the cool sand beneath his shoes, imagining mornings filled with coffee by the lake and evenings watching the stars. The cabin was small but functional. A few wooden chairs sat on the porch facing the lake. Inside, the floors creaked slightly underfoot, and the walls carried the faint scent of old wood. Daniel could see himself sitting there reading a book while Max, his loyal dog, lay beside him. The lake seemed alive, as if it was inviting him to stay. After walking around the property, Daniel met with the seller to discuss the purchase. He asked about the lake, the history of the property, and any rules he should know about. The seller explained that the HOA controlled certain parts of the neighborhood, but the lake itself was part of federally protected waterway regulations. Daniel smiled. This was exactly what he had hoped for. He was buying more than just property. He was buying the right to enjoy the lake freely and legally. Within a few days, all the paperwork was complete. Daniel had officially purchased the lake and the cabin. He felt proud, but he also understood that responsibility came with ownership. He needed to respect the lake, the environment, and the rules of the federal waterway codes. He planned to improve the area, but without disturbing its natural beauty. On his first night at the cabin, Daniel set up a small fire pit near the shore. He and Max sat on the edge of the dock watching the water glow under the moonlight. The night was quiet except for the occasional sound of a fish jumping or an owl hooting in the distance. Daniel felt a deep connection to the place. This was not just a purchase. It was a new beginning. As the weeks passed, Daniel began exploring more of the lake. He noticed small details that others might miss. Tiny fish swam near the shore and birds built nests in the nearby trees. The reeds swayed gently with the wind, creating soft patterns on the water. Daniel learned the rhythm of the lake, the way it changed with the seasons and the life that it supported. He took notes, made plans, and began dreaming of small projects like building a boat or a small wooden deck where he could sit closer to the water. However, Daniel soon discovered that the HOA had already heard about his purchase. The neighborhood association was not pleased that a new owner had arrived, who understood federal laws better than they did. Whispers started circulating among the neighbors. Some expressed concern about the changes Daniel might make, while others wondered if he would follow the HOA rules. Daniel did not mind. He was confident in his knowledge and in his rights as a property owner. One morning, Daniel went for a walk around the lake to check the surroundings. He saw a few HOA signs posted along the main entrance. They warned about unauthorized use of the lake and strict enforcement of neighborhood rules. Daniel paused and read them carefully. He knew that these signs had no authority over him regarding the lake itself, but he respected the neighborhood. His plan was not to challenge people unnecessarily, but to enjoy the lake peacefully and legally. Daniel spent time teaching Max to stay calm near the water. The dog loved to chase the small fish that jumped near the dock, and Daniel found joy in watching his companion explore the shoreline. Sometimes he would sit for hours, sketching the lake, noting the trees, the movement of the water, and the birds that visited. Each sketch made him feel more connected to the land he now owned. One evening, Daniel decided to take a small rowboat he had found near the cabin and push it gently into the water. He sat in the middle, feeling the lake move beneath him. The reflection of the moon created a silver path across the water. He breathed deeply and felt a sense of freedom he had never experienced before. Owning this lake was not just about property. It was about finding peace in a busy world. Daniel understood that owning a lake came with responsibilities. He needed to ensure the water remained clean, the wildlife safe, and the area preserved. He began planning small efforts to keep the lake tidy, like picking up fallen branches and making sure the dock was secure. He wanted his lake to remain a natural paradise, untouched by unnecessary changes. Even though he enjoyed solitude, Daniel also thought about the community around him. He believed that sharing knowledge and kindness could prevent conflicts. If neighbors approached him respectfully, he was happy to explain his rights and work together for the good of the area. He understood that the HOA might not always agree with him, but he could handle any situation with patience and respect. As days turned into weeks, Daniel started noticing subtle signs that the HOA might take action. They had already questioned the previous owner about the lake, and now a new owner like him might raise concerns. But Daniel remained calm. He knew the federal waterway codes gave him certain rights that the HOA could not override. He was ready to face any challenge, but he hoped it would not come to conflict. By the end of the first month, Daniel had fully settled into life at the lake. He had small routines that brought joy. Early mornings began with coffee on the dock, while evenings ended with reading near the fire pit. Max became a natural explorer of the shore, and Daniel learned to respect the rhythm of nature around him. One quiet night, as Daniel watched the moonlight shimmer across the water, he realized how lucky he was. Most people never find a place where they feel completely at peace. For him, the old lake was not just a property. It was a dream come true. It represented freedom, connection to nature, and a place where he could think, create, and enjoy life fully. Little did Daniel know the next challenge was not far away. The HOA, uneasy about a new owner who knew the law, had already started making plans. But for now, the lake remained his sanctuary, untouched by rules that did not apply. Daniel smiled, feeling a quiet excitement for the days ahead. He was ready for whatever came next. Daniel had been enjoying the lake for a few weeks. The mornings were calm, with mist rising from the water and birds singing softly in the trees. Max ran along the shore, sometimes chasing small fish that leapt from the lake. Daniel felt content. He had found a private place where he could think, read, and enjoy the quiet beauty of nature. But one morning, that peace was interrupted. As Daniel carried his fishing gear toward the dock, he noticed a car parked near the entrance of the property. The vehicle was polished and new, the kind that the HOA members often drove. Two women stepped out carrying clipboards and wearing serious expressions. Daniel recognized them from the neighborhood. They were part of the HOA committee, known for enforcing rules strictly and often arguing with anyone who tried to do something differently. "Good morning," Daniel said politely, trying to appear calm. He didn't want to start a conflict. "Sir," one of the women said firmly, "you are using this lake illegally. You must stop immediately. We have already contacted the HOA board, and if necessary, we will call 911. Daniel raised an eyebrow, surprised. He had expected questions, perhaps some complaints, but he had not expected threats. He remained calm and smiled politely. "Actually, this lake falls under federal waterway protections. I have all the legal documentation confirming that I own this property, and that my use of the lake is within federal regulations." The women looked at each other, clearly confused. "We don't care about federal codes," the second woman said sharply. "We enforce the neighborhood rules. You cannot use the lake the way you want. It is against HOA restrictions." Daniel remained patient. He had anticipated resistance. "I respect your concern," he said. "But the federal waterway codes give property owners the right to use the water in certain ways. My use of this lake follows the law. I would be happy to show you the documentation so you can understand." One of the women crossed her arms, frowning. "We don't need papers. You must follow our rules." Daniel shook his head gently. "I understand that the HOA has rules for the neighborhood, but these rules do not apply to federal waterways. The law clearly states the rights of property owners. I am happy to explain, but I cannot follow rules that conflict with federal law." The women were taken aback. They were used to people following their orders without question. Daniel's calm explanation and knowledge of the law surprised them. For a moment, they seemed unsure how to respond. Seeing their hesitation, Daniel suggested a compromise. "If you like, I can show you how I plan to use the lake responsibly. This way you can see that I respect the environment and do not harm the area." The first woman hesitated, then nodded. "Fine. Show us what you mean." Daniel walked with them to the dock and pointed to the surrounding water. "I plan to fish responsibly, maintain the shoreline, and make small improvements that do not disturb the wildlife. I will also ensure that visitors follow federal rules and no one can trespass without permission." The women looked at the lake, unsure what to say. The water shimmered in the sunlight and the area appeared calm and well kept. Daniel had thought ahead and made small adjustments to show care for the environment. After examining the property, the women reluctantly said, "We still need to report this to the HOA board." Daniel smiled politely. "Of course. You are welcome to provide them with all the information. I have nothing to hide. I am confident that once the board reviews the federal regulations, they will see that I am within my rights." The women left, still muttering about rules and authority. Daniel watched their car drive away and felt a mixture of relief and caution. He knew the HOA might try again, but he was prepared. He had studied federal waterway codes carefully and was ready to handle any challenge calmly and legally. That evening, Daniel made a few preparations. He set up a small, unobtrusive barrier at the entrance to the dock. It was not a fence to keep people out of their homes, but it was designed to prevent unauthorized access to the lake. He placed a simple sign explaining that the lake was federally protected and that only authorized individuals could use the dock and water. Daniel was careful to remain polite and respectful. He did not want to escalate the situation unnecessarily. He believed that knowledge and calm behavior were more powerful than anger or confrontation. By taking a thoughtful approach, he hoped to prevent future conflicts. Over the next few days, the entire training ground fell silent as the general slowly rolled up his sleeve. The soldiers' eyes widened as they saw the intricate tattoo on his arm. It was a striking design, detailed and bold, with symbols that seemed to tell a story of discipline, courage, and experience. For a moment, everyone was speechless, unsure of what to say. Amara remained calm, observing the reactions around her. She had known that this moment would carry weight. The general's tattoo was more than decoration. It was a symbol of his journey, just as hers was. She felt a quiet connection, understanding that the mockery from earlier had been superficial and now gave way to a deeper lesson for everyone present. The general looked at Amara, his eyes reflecting both authority and understanding. "Lieutenant Lewis," he began, his voice steady and commanding, "your tattoo is impressive and your skills today have proven your strength and character. But I want the team to understand why such symbols matter. It is not the design alone that carries meaning. It is the journey and the values they represent." He gestured toward his own tattoo. "This sleeve represents my years of service, the challenges I have faced, and the lessons I have learned. Each mark, each symbol reminds me of what it means to lead, to endure, and to respect those who serve alongside me." The soldiers, who had been mocking Amara earlier, now looked on with awe. Marcus, usually quick to make jokes, could not find words. Tyler stared in silence, realizing the depth of the moment. The general's presence and the story behind his tattoo demanded attention and reflection. Amara stepped forward slightly, her posture confident yet respectful. "Sir," she said, "my tattoo carries a similar meaning. It represents the discipline, challenges, and perseverance that shaped who I am today. Every mark reminds me of the commitment I have made and the standards I hold myself to." The general nodded approvingly. "Exactly, Lieutenant Lewis. Symbols like these are not for show or decoration. They are reminders of our values, our resilience, and the experiences that shape our character. They tell a story of dedication, courage, and integrity." Tyler, still processing the revelation, finally spoke. "So it's not just art. It's a reflection of who you are and what you've been through." The general looked at him, his gaze firm but encouraging. "Yes, it is a reflection of your journey and the choices you make. A person's strength is not measured by appearance or popularity, but by the actions they take, the respect they show, and the courage they demonstrate." Marcus, usually brash, nodded slowly. "I get it now. I didn't mean to judge earlier. It's clear now that the tattoos represent something far greater than I realized." Amara smiled faintly. "It is natural to be curious. What matters is learning to see beyond the surface. Everyone has a story, and it is our responsibility to respect it, even if we do not fully understand it at first. The general turned to address the entire team. I want each of you to take this lesson to heart. Training and discipline are important, but respect, understanding, and character define true strength. Mockery and judgment are easy, but recognizing the value in others, even when it differs from your expectations, is what makes a team strong. The soldiers listened attentively, many nodding in agreement. Tyler and Marcus exchanged glances, both feeling the weight of the lesson. The morning's teasing seemed distant now, replaced by a new sense of respect and awareness. Amara felt a sense of relief and quiet pride. She had faced doubt and mockery, yet she had remained composed and true to herself. Now the story behind her tattoo and the general's matching example had taught the entire team a powerful lesson. The general's eyes lingered on Amara for a moment longer. "Lieutenant Lewis," he said, "you have not only demonstrated skill and discipline, but also the courage to stand firm in the face of judgment. That is a quality every soldier must strive to achieve." Amara nodded respectfully. "Thank you, sir. I am honored to serve alongside such a team and under your leadership." The general smiled slightly, then addressed the team one last time. "Let this day be a reminder that every mark, every choice, and every effort counts. It is what you do with your abilities and your experiences that defines who you are. Respect and understanding are as important as strength and skill." The soldiers absorbed the message. Even those who had been skeptical or dismissive now understood that strength is not only physical, but also moral and emotional. The tattoo that had once been a point of mockery had become a symbol of inspiration and respect. Tyler approached Amara hesitantly. I want to apologize for the way I spoke earlier," he said sincerely. "I judged too quickly. Today I've learned a lot from you." Amara nodded, smiling warmly. "Thank you, Tyler. It takes courage to admit when we are wrong and to learn from our experiences. That is what makes a team strong." Marcus, standing nearby, added quietly, "I feel the same. I didn't understand before, but I do now. Your tattoo? It's more than just art. It shows who you are, and it inspires us to do better." The general watched the exchange with quiet satisfaction. He knew that the lesson of respect, character, and understanding had been delivered effectively. The SEAL forces had learned not only about Amara's strength, but also about the value of looking beyond appearances. Amara adjusted her sleeve, feeling a quiet pride. The day had tested her in more ways than one. She had proven herself through skill, patience, and integrity, and now, the meaning behind her tattoo had been fully recognized by those around her. The general finally rolled his sleeve back down, restoring his usual composed appearance. "Let us continue our work," he said. "But remember the lessons of today. Every symbol has meaning and every person has value." The soldiers moved with renewed focus, their earlier distractions replaced by a deeper understanding. Amara led a group through the final set of drills, her confidence and leadership evident in every instruction. Tyler and Marcus followed closely, their respect for her clear in their attentive participation. As the day drew to a close, the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the base. Amara looked around at her team, feeling a sense of accomplishment. The mockery that had begun in the morning had transformed into respect and admiration. The general's revelation had not only honored her journey, but also taught everyone an important lesson about character, courage, and understanding. The team gathered near the docks for a final debrief. The general spoke briefly, commending their efforts and encouraging them to carry the lessons forward. Amara stood quietly among them, feeling a sense of belonging and recognition. Tyler leaned toward Marcus and whispered, "I'll never judge someone by their appearance again." "Today was eye-opening." Marcus nodded, smiling faintly. "Me neither. That tattoo, and the way she handled everything. It's impressive. We have a lot to learn." Amara heard their words and felt a quiet satisfaction. She had faced doubt, demonstrated her strength, and shared a moment of respect and understanding that would remain with the team long after today. The general approached her one last time. "Lieutenant Lewis," he said, "you have set an example not only for your team but for every soldier here. Remember that your courage, skill, and integrity are what define you, not the judgments of others." Amara bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, sir. I will continue to uphold these values." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the training ground, Amara felt a sense of peace. The day had been challenging, but it had proven the power of respect, perseverance, and understanding. Her tattoo, once a source of curiosity and mockery, had become a symbol of strength and inspiration for everyone present. And as the SEAL forces packed up for the day, there was a shared understanding among them, a lesson in courage, respect, and the true meaning of leadership that would not be forgotten. The evening air was cool as the team gathered near the docks, the golden glow of the setting sun reflecting off the water. The day's training exercises had ended, and the soldiers were tired but alert. There was a new energy in the group, a sense of unity and understanding that had not been present in the morning. Amara stood quietly, observing her team. She felt a sense of accomplishment, not only for the exercises completed but for the lessons learned and shared. The mockery of her tattoo earlier in the day had transformed into curiosity, respect, and understanding. She had proven her strength, skill, and character, and the general's revelation had reinforced the importance of values and integrity. Tyler approached her cautiously, carrying his water bottle. "Amara," he began, his voice sincere, "I want to apologize again for the way I acted earlier today. I judged you without knowing the full story, and I realize now how wrong that was." Amara smiled warmly. "Thank you, Tyler. Acknowledging our mistakes is the first step toward growth. Today was a learning experience for all of us." Marcus, who had been quieter throughout the day, stepped forward as well. "I agree. I was wrong to make fun of your tattoo. I didn't understand it before, but I see now that it represents something important. Your dedication and strength are inspiring." Amara nodded. "I appreciate your honesty. Respect and understanding make a team stronger than any drill or exercise ever could." The general approached, his presence commanding attention. His eyes scanned the group before resting on Amara. "Lieutenant Lewis," he said, "you have set an example that will be remembered by everyone here. Your performance and integrity today have shown what true leadership and courage look like." Amara bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, sir. I am honored to serve alongside such a capable and dedicated team." The general's gaze turned to the other soldiers. "Today has been a lesson in more than training. It has been a lesson in character, respect, and understanding. Remember that every person brings value to a team, and appearances do not define their worth. Actions, discipline, and integrity are what truly matter." The soldiers nodded, absorbing the weight of his words. Even those who had been skeptical or dismissive now carried a quiet respect for Amara and her dedication. The general's leadership and example had made it clear that the lessons learned today were as important as any physical challenge faced in training. As the team began to pack up their gear, Amara took a moment to reflect on the day. She thought about the journey that had led her here, the challenges she had overcome, and the dedication it had taken to reach this point. Her tattoo was more than a design. It was a symbol of her perseverance, discipline, and the values she lived by. Tyler and Marcus approached her, each carrying a small piece of equipment for cleanup. "You know," Tyler said, "I think today changed all of us. We saw how strong you are, and it made us think about our own actions and attitudes." Marcus added, "Yeah, it's not just about skill. It's about respect, teamwork, and understanding. We have a lot to learn from you." Amara smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment. We all learn from each other. That is what makes a team strong. Every experience, every challenge, and every lesson counts. The general stood nearby, watching the interactions quietly. He had seen many soldiers pass through his command, but moments like this were rare. The combination of skill, character, and the willingness to teach and inspire others marked true leadership. Amara noticed him observing and spoke quietly. "Sir, I hope that today's exercises and discussions helped the team understand the importance of respect and integrity." The general nodded approvingly. "They did, Lieutenant Lewis. You have shown them that true strength is not only physical but also moral. Your courage and commitment have left a lasting impression." The soldiers began moving toward the barracks, their earlier tension replaced with a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. The lessons of the day had shifted the team's perspective. They now understood that judging someone based on appearances was shallow, and that respect and understanding were far more valuable. As they walked, Tyler glanced at Amara and said quietly, "I think your tattoo will always remind us of today. Not just of you, but of what it means to respect and support each other." Amara nodded. "That is the hope. Symbols have meaning when they remind us of the lessons we learn and the people we aspire to be. Marcus added, I'll admit, I underestimated you. Today taught me a lot about courage and patience. Thank you for showing us the right way. Amara smiled gently. We all have the ability to inspire and learn from one another. That is what makes a team strong and a mission successful. The general called the team together one last time for a brief debrief. Today was not only about training, he said. It was about understanding, respect, and growth. Each of you should take these lessons into every mission, every challenge, and every interaction. Remember, a team is only as strong as its respect for one another and its commitment to shared values. The soldiers nodded, some exchanging quiet words of reflection. Amara felt a sense of peace, knowing that the lesson of the day would carry on. Her tattoo, once the center of mockery, had become a symbol of strength, integrity, and shared understanding. As the sun dipped lower, casting the last light of day across the base, Amara gathered her own thoughts. She reflected on her journey, the challenges she had overcome, and the growth she had witnessed in her team. Every step, every decision, and every action had led to this moment of recognition and respect. The team began walking back toward the barracks, the atmosphere lighter and more united than it had been in the morning. Soldiers who had doubted each other now carried a sense of camaraderie and shared purpose. The lessons of respect, understanding, and integrity were firmly embedded in their minds. Amara walked among them quietly, her posture confident but approachable. She had faced doubt, mockery, and skepticism, yet she had remained composed and true to her principles. Her actions had spoken louder than any words, and the recognition from the general had reinforced the importance of character and dedication. Tyler leaned slightly toward her as they walked. I think today was one of the most important lessons I've ever learned, he admitted. It's not about what we see on the surface. It's about what we do, how we treat others, and the respect we show. Amara nodded. Exactly. That is the foundation of a strong team. Skills matter, but respect and understanding are just as critical. Marcus smiled. I think we will all remember this day. Your tattoo, the way you handled yourself, and the general's example, it's a lesson we won't forget. Amara felt a quiet satisfaction. The journey of the day had been challenging, but it had proven the power of courage, respect, and integrity. Her tattoo, once a source of curiosity and mockery, had become a symbol of inspiration for everyone present. As they reached the barracks, the general addressed the team one last time. Carry today's lessons with you always. Strength is measured not only in actions but in character. Respect each other, support each other, and honor the values that guide you. That is the true measure of a soldier. The soldiers listened intently, absorbing the message. The day had been more than physical training. It had been a lesson in character, resilience, and respect. Amara felt a sense of fulfillment. She had faced skepticism, demonstrated her skill and composure, and now witnessed the transformation of her team. The general's recognition, combined with the respect earned from her peers, created a lasting impact. As night fell over the base, the soldiers settled into their quarters, reflecting quietly on the day's events. Amara looked out at the darkening sky, feeling a sense of peace. She had shown that strength and courage were not defined by appearances, and that respect and integrity could inspire even those who had doubted her. Her tattoo, a symbol of her journey, remained hidden beneath her sleeve, yet its meaning had been shared through her actions, her composure, and the lessons she had taught her team. The SEAL forces had learned that true strength is more than physical. It is moral, emotional, and rooted in respect and understanding. Amara walked quietly to her own quarters, her heart steady and her mind clear. The challenges of the day had been met, doubts had been overcome, and respect had been earned. She felt confident that the lessons learned would resonate far beyond this day, shaping not only her team but the missions they would face in the future. As she closed her door, she allowed herself a small smile. Today had been a triumph not only in skill but in character. The journey of proving herself had been long and demanding, but the reward was clear: the respect of her peers, the recognition of the general, and the satisfaction of knowing that courage, integrity, and perseverance always prevail. And with that thought, Amara prepared for the next day, knowing that every challenge would be met with the same strength, determination, and unwavering respect that had defined her journey. The afternoon sun cast a warm glow over the training grounds as the SEAL forces continued their exercises. Amara moved with quiet precision, her focus unwavering despite the lingering curiosity of the soldiers around her. The earlier mockery had mostly faded, replaced by cautious respect. Still, questions about her tattoo remained unspoken in the minds of many. Tyler sat on the edge of a bench, towel in hand, watching her carefully. "I still don't understand it," he said quietly to Ryan. "That tattoo? It feels like there's a story there. Something big." Ryan nodded, his eyes following Amara as she adjusted her uniform. "I think you're right. It's not just decoration. There's meaning behind it, I can feel it. But we might not know until someone talks about it." Amara, though unaware of their conversation, sensed the subtle shift in attitude. The team was slowly realizing that her abilities in leadership were just as important as her appearance. Yet she knew that respect fully earned would come only when the story behind her tattoo was revealed. The general had left earlier to attend meetings, but his presence still hung in the air. Soldiers occasionally glanced toward his office, whispering quietly among themselves. The mere knowledge that he might return at any moment added an element of tension to the day. As the afternoon exercises grew more challenging, the team was tasked with a series of obstacle courses designed to test problem-solving under stress. Soldiers had to navigate rope ladders, balance beams, and timed puzzles while carrying heavy packs. Amara's movements were fluid, her mind sharp and her instincts quick. Marcus struggled on a particularly tricky balance beam. Amara noticed him wobbling dangerously and moved to assist. "Focus on your center of gravity," she instructed calmly. "Trust your footing and move steadily." Marcus hesitated but followed her guidance. With her help, he completed the section without falling. "Thanks," he said, breathing heavily. There was no hint of mockery in his voice, only genuine gratitude. Amara returned to her own exercises, her focus now on the final part of the obstacle course. She leapt, climbed, and balanced with remarkable precision, finishing faster than anyone else. The soldiers watching were visibly impressed, whispering quietly among themselves. Tyler turned to Ryan, his eyes wide. "She's amazing," he admitted. "Every step she takes, she proves herself." "I can't deny it anymore," Ryan nodded slowly. "I guess we judged too soon. That tattoo, maybe it's just a reminder of why she's strong." Amara wiped sweat from her forehead and adjusted her sleeve. Her tattoo remained hidden under part of her uniform, yet she felt a quiet pride. It was more than ink on skin. It represented her journey, her discipline, and the challenges she had overcome. As the day progressed, the general returned unexpectedly. His presence caused the entire team to straighten instinctively. Soldiers quickly gathered near the training area, awaiting his inspection. The general walked with his usual calm authority, his eyes scanning each member of the team. When he reached Amara, he stopped for a moment longer than the others. He looked at her tattoo briefly before his expression softened into a thoughtful gaze. Amara met his eyes without hesitation, feeling a mixture of anticipation and respect. The general spoke to the entire group. "Today's exercises have been challenging," he said, his voice firm but fair. "I have observed skill, determination, and teamwork. These qualities are what matter most. Remember, appearances do not define a person. Their actions and choices do." The soldiers listened attentively, some nodding slowly. Tyler glanced at Marcus and whispered, "I think we are finally beginning to understand. She's not defined by her tattoo, but it clearly holds meaning." Amara's mind wandered briefly to the story behind her tattoo. It was a memory of her training in the academy, the obstacles she had overcome, and the mentors who had guided her. Every line and curve symbolized resilience, courage, and the lessons she had learned through hard work and dedication. After the general's address, the team moved to the final exercise of the day, a teamwork challenge that required coordination, trust, and leadership. Soldiers were paired to navigate a simulated mission under time pressure. Amara was paired with Tyler, who had been one of the more skeptical soldiers earlier in the day. "Ready?" Amara asked calmly, extending her hand in greeting. Tyler nodded, his nerves evident. "Yeah, let's do this." The mission began, and Amara immediately took the lead in planning their approach. She directed Tyler with clear instructions, guiding him through difficult sections and encouraging him when he struggled. Tyler began to notice her patience, intelligence, and unwavering focus. At one point, they reached a wall that required teamwork to climb. Amara assessed the situation quickly. I will boost you first, she instructed. Then you help me on the other side. Tyler followed her guidance, and together they completed the obstacle. He was surprised by how easily Amara combined strategy and strength. I've never worked with someone like this before, he admitted. Amara smiled. Teamwork is about trust and respect, she said. Not about proving who is stronger. Everyone has value. By the end of the exercise, their team completed the mission successfully. Soldiers nearby watched quietly, impressed by the smooth coordination and clear leadership Amara had displayed. The mockery that had filled the morning seemed like a distant memory. After the exercises, the team gathered under shade for a short rest. Amara sat quietly, observing the soldiers around her. She noticed a few still whispering about her tattoo. Curiosity mixed with growing respect. She knew that her story had not yet been told, and the full significance of the tattoo remained a mystery to them. Suddenly the general approached. His footsteps were deliberate, each one commanding attention. He stopped in front of Amara and studied her closely. There was a weight in his gaze, a combination of scrutiny and understanding. Lieutenant Lewis, he said, his tone calm but powerful, you have performed exceptionally today. Your skills, judgment, and leadership have been clear to everyone here. Amara bowed her head slightly in acknowledgement. Thank you, sir, she replied. The general's eyes flicked briefly to her tattoo before returning to meet hers. It is clear that your tattoo is not merely decoration, he said thoughtfully. It carries meaning, as I suspected. There is a story behind it, and stories like yours are what inspire others. Amara felt a small surge of pride. She had faced skepticism, mockery, and doubt, yet she had remained true to herself and her principles. Now someone of the general's experience and authority recognized her value. Tyler and Marcus, standing nearby, exchanged glances. Their earlier teasing seemed insignificant compared to the respect being shown by the general. The air was filled with anticipation. Everyone could sense that a revelation was coming, one that would explain the significance of Amara's tattoo, and perhaps even challenge their own perceptions. The general stepped back slightly and observed the team. Today has been a lesson in more than physical skill, he said. It has been a lesson in understanding respect and character. There is more to see than what meets the eye. Remember this as you continue to serve. Amara listened carefully, knowing that the day's events were leading to a moment she had prepared for. Soon the meaning behind her tattoo, and the connection to the general's own experiences would become clear to everyone. The soldiers remained quiet, the suspense in the air almost tangible. Even the ones who had been mocking earlier now watched with interest, waiting for the story to unfold. Amara adjusted her uniform, feeling calm and ready. The general walked past the team, stopping briefly at the edge of the training area. He paused, then slowly rolled up his sleeve. Beneath it was a tattoo of his own, intricate and meaningful, mirroring the respect and legacy that Amara's design represented. The soldiers gasped quietly, recognizing the shared experience and symbolism in both tattoos. Amara watched the moment, a quiet smile on her face. She had faced mockery, proven her strength, and now the story of courage, dedication, and respect was about to be fully understood by everyone. The suspense had reached its peak, and the lesson was about to be revealed.